Welcome to the Food Startups Podcast, connecting the opaque world of food startups.
Hello and good morning. I am here in Bogota recording the intro right now for our 52nd episode. And as you know, when I bring on guests, I always try to break it down as much as I can and see if there's any learnings or meta learnings between guests where we can say, okay, this company, the keys to their success are A, B, C, and D. Now, it's not always so easy, and it can be a combination of factors, and you're not sure what exactly made the company go from 0 to 100. But today, I want to take a stab and listen to this interview. There's a lot of information here. You know, it's 2 Degrees Food with Lauren Walters. They have a one-to-one model where basically you buy a bar, a granola snack bar, and donations made to a charity somewhere in, I guess it could be anywhere in the world really, and they give some type of food or meal to a hungry child. Now, I kind of took 4 things from this interview, right, as I re-listened to it. I think there's 4 key things to the success of this company. 1, a genuine cause. For instance, something like fair trade, a lot of times you find fair trade is not necessarily great for the farmers, right? So their cause is legit. It's for feeding kids every single time you buy a bar. It's pretty straightforward. Second, related to that cause, and you're going to hear it today, they have a great story. And as you know, you always have to be storytelling. I don't know about reading literature, but writers and, you know, a lot of like Stephen King's how-to books. There's quite a few good books on writing and fiction writing. And it doesn't always hurt because you're trying to rehearse a story when you're selling your brand. And I think they have a really good story. And then also, you know, 3 and 4, taste and packaging. The story is not enough. The cause is not enough. You have to have a very good tasting product and good packaging. And great packaging alone may get the people to open up your product once, but they're not going to continue buying it if it doesn't taste good. All right. Well, I will bring in Lauren now. Today we have Lauren Walters from 2 Degrees Food. Now, Lauren, can you please tell us how a 2006 trip to Rwanda got 2 Degrees Food started?
Well, it was really the beginning of what became 2 Degrees. My trip to Rwanda in 2006 was really triggered by work I'd been doing with Partners in Health, Paul Farmer's organization. And my son Ed and I went to their health clinic in Rinkwavu. And for the first time, I saw severely malnourished kids. I'd traveled a lot in different parts of the world and certainly been with and seen people who were hungry and undernourished. But somehow that trip to Rwanda, seeing severely malnourished kids, affected me in a different way.
Got it. Okay. And so it was 4 years later before the company got started. What happened between then? How did you start ramping things up in, I guess, 2009, 2010?
Well, really the second dot that later got connected in 2010 for 2 Degrees was hearing Blake Mycoskie, the founder of Tom's Shoes, talk at the Aspen Ideas Festival. And he described this really interesting model where a consumer, an American consumer, bought a pair of shoes, and then that triggered the donation of a pair of shoes to a child who needed them in Latin America. And it was just a really interesting business model. And so that dot got tucked away in my mind. And then in late 2009 and early 2010, my co-founder, Will Hauser, and I connected those dots, and the idea of starting a food company where every time someone bought a 2 Degrees product, it would trigger a meal to an undernourished child. It was a similar notion that Blake had with shoes. It was all about connecting the dots.
And you call this the one-for-one model, correct?
Well, that's really what Blake started with Tom's Shoes. We talk about 2 Degrees as the buy one, give one food company.
Buy one, give one food company. Okay, so walk us through this model. If I go and buy a bar at my local grocery store, how long does it take and what exactly does a hungry child get?
So it's different in different countries. The way the model works is that when a person buys a 2 Degrees product, we work through nonprofit partners. In the U.S., it's the food banks that are organized by Feeding America. In India, It's Akshaya Patra, a nonprofit that cooks and delivers hot meals to children in schools in 9 Indian states. In Malawi and Haiti, it's the donation of ready-to-use therapeutic food by Partners Health. And so every time a person buys a 2 Degrees product, we keep track. We bank a meal. And meals, as I say, are different in different countries. We bank a meal and then make donations to different nonprofits. In some cases, the retailers that we sell to decide that they want the meals that are triggered by the purchases of their customers to go to food banks in their local area, or to go to India, or to go to Haiti, or to go to Malawi. So that's how it works.
Gotcha. So it's quite flexible depending on what store you buy the bar, and I guess what bar the charity or what charity is linked to the bars that you're selling. Now, a question for you. We spoke earlier, Lauren, and you said that it can be very difficult to stay on shelves. Now, a question for you. What types of stores work best for 2 Degrees food? And what about the locations within the stores?
So it is hard for every young food company to stay on the shelves. People love our product, but the bar category especially is a highly competitive category with much bigger companies, some of which are owned by big food companies and some of which make hundreds of millions of bars a year and really control so much of the shelf space. The best types of food stores for us are often food service settings, corporations, coffee shops, colleges, those sorts of places. But we're in thousands of grocery shelves, and we fight hard to stay on the shelves because people love our product and they love the message. It's just hard for when you have those 2 or 3 seconds when a customer is walking down the aisle to jump out at them and for them to see that when they buy a 2 Degrees product, they're helping an undernourished child. So that's the constant challenge. You also asked about where in stores make the most sense for our product. And I would say it's where our message can be most readily seen. And often that's at the front of the store by checkout, where we're in a par with other products, other bars and others, but it's not a whole shelf. And people are standing there and they can see that when they buy a 2 Degrees product, they feed an undernourished child. The other thing I'd say is that 2 Degrees is adding products in other food categories, similar to Newman's Own. So similar in that 2 Degrees will begin this year to add products in trail mix category, in the snack clusters, in the good for you snacks. And then we'll also co-brand and license our brand to other food companies so that when customers buy those products too, they're able to donate a meal to an undernourished child all over the store, not just in the bar category.
So that's really cool. I like the co-branding idea. And like you mentioned, Newman's Own. So you can be in multiple places in the store and becomes not just to a granola bar, but trail mix. If people see that there's going to be a lot of different types of trail mix, but they know the 2 Degrees food brand and they know what it stands for, then hopefully that can generate a lot of sales in other categories and build the strength of the brand, which seems to be really key. Now, Lauren, I wanted to skip to a question because you just mentioned packaging. And this is a quote I got from you in our last call. You said, "Packaging is a hard story to tell." We had talked about ecological packaging and, I've worked with it before. And I think we both agree that it's something that can be really great, but there's a lot of challenges there. Can you elaborate on that quote and talk about the evolution of the packaging for your company?
Sure. So the requirement for a food product like ours, which lives on a shelf, is having an acceptable shelf life where the product is fresh for the consumer. It's all about taste, certainly for bars. I can imagine that the 2 Degrees brand could also be on commodity products like rice or bags of apples or milk or other things where taste is maybe not so important. But for products for which taste matters, the product has to remain tasty for all of its shelf life. So that's just a factor. And we've certainly looked and continue to look for packaging options which are more readily recyclable, but it's a problem that so many food companies face. With respect to packaging changes, the changes were really related to our logo and our the look of our brand and the messaging on our packaging. So, most companies continue to try and improve their messaging on their packaging, and that's something we do too. When we started, we had a picture of a young Malawian child who'd been undernourished, but now was okay, and he was holding a nutrition pack. And we got a reaction from a number of our consumers that seeing the image of this young boy made them feel sad. And what we want is that customers who buy 2 Degrees products feel joyful and happy that they're able to help someone. And we don't want them to feel sad. We don't want them to feel guilty. We want them to feel positive about the connection they're making and the help they're giving to a person who needs help. So we remove the picture of the child. We tell his story and others on our website and through the websites of our partners who actually deliver meals to undernourished kids. But we decided to focus our branding and our packaging on the 2 Degrees idea, the idea of connections. When you do this, this happens. And that's what we've done.
Great info there. Another thing that is pretty interesting about your company, and I congratulate on this, is you guys are now on, if I have this correct, 2 airlines, United and JetBlue. I don't know if you remember, there's this kind of cheesy slapstick comedy called Airplane. And I just remember the plot and how food poisoning is obviously a big deal. So I know you have to be, I'm sure any airline, if any food company causes like an airline to have food poisoning on the plane, that's like the worst PR, besides a crash, it's like the worst PR you can have. So I know they have to be very cautious about that. But can you tell us a little bit about the sales process? How did you get in front of these giant airlines and how did you convince them to give you a shot?
Yeah, I mean, issues of food poisoning actually have never come up with us or with any other food product that I'm familiar with on the airlines. Having food poisoning anywhere is certainly not a good thing. It's just something we've faced or that we've actually heard about from anyone else. It's a traditional sales process dealing with buyers at both airlines, and in both cases, the fact that the buyers loved the product. They thought it was attractive to them, that it was a gluten-free, non-GMO product. Most importantly, it was attractive to them that it tasted really great, and they thought their customers would like the product. But certainly another important factor was the 2 Degrees mission and the idea that once every time somebody bought in the case of JetBlue, a bar in a snack box, or in the case of United, a 2-bar box with 2 Degrees bars in it, that it would enable the airline to help feed undernourished children. And I think that opportunity for airlines to tell the story of how in doing good for their customers, for their flyers, by providing great tasting food products, they could at the same time enable their customers and they themselves could help people who needed it. That combination was attractive to the airlines.
Lauren, I see a theme here. Having a great cause is not enough. You got to have a great taste and packaging that communicates the message. Now, Lauren, to finish up here, you guys are in, give or take, 2,500 stores right now. What's your goal for 2018? How many stores would you like to be in? And you mentioned co-branding. How many stores would you like to be in by 2018?
4 years, which is 2018. I'd love, if I had a target, it would be about 100,000 stores. And that's a doable product. It's a doable goal as we expand the range of products that we add, some of which will be co-brands, as I say, and others will be our own products. So a really achievable goal. And if we're able to do that in stores or in other locations, colleges, corporations, and the like, hospitals, if we're able to do that, we'll be feeding so many undernourished children in the U.S. and overseas. It'll really be a fantastic thing. In the end, when you think about it, it's one person at a time, and it's helping to change the life direction one person at a time. And that's part of the 2 Degrees idea. It's not just that we're connected, which is what I think 2 Degrees is all about, but it's also the power of 2 Degrees as a brand to help move a person's path just a little bit, just 2 degrees, so that they have opportunities that they might not have had before. And I always say that food is the foundation that enables people to have educational opportunities and job opportunities. You have to be secure in your health and in your nutrition, and then you can take advantage of these other opportunities that are out there. There's so much potential that's unlocked, and 2 Degrees hopes to help unlock the potential in people in the U.S. and around the world.
Well, great. Well, Lauren, I hope you guys can make it into 100,000 stores. We're definitely rooting for you. And listeners, you can find them online at 2degreesfood.com. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on today, and it was a great interview.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, find us online at foodstartupspodcast.com.